All Laravel fans and MoonShine fans, I welcome you to the ClickAction channel. Friends, I'm not going to drag on and we're continuing the MoonShine 2 guide. Let's go. Today's lesson will cover implementing article filling in the admin section, working with the form builder, and implementing login and registration. This is the second part and should be interesting. Let's begin with a simple task, opening the IDE and creating a resource. First, create a MoonShine resource for an article. Start with the default settings and gradually build up the capabilities. As issues arise, we can address them. Finally, let's publish it together to get started. You can make a group at once. Most likely, we will also have categories there, not most likely, but exactly. We will make articles and menu item. Article resource. Since we are talking about categories, let's do them at once. Okay, the menus are ready, but I haven't created a superuser yet. Let's make one. Let it be admin $sign, ClickAction dev. In general, any name will do. And some simple local password. Great. The user is created. Let's go to the admin area and see what we have going on there. Great. We see categories. We see articles, respectively, and so far it's all empty. Let's fill it up so that we can quickly edit all this stuff. Let's go to the MoonShine directory. Let's start with articles. But no, let's start with categories. After all, they are present in articles, so that it is convenient to display them at once with you. First, let's make a column at once. Since we will use the relationship field in articles to display not the ID, but a certain field from the model. And as far as I remember, it is title. Yes, great. Next, let's use the text field from MoonShine, make title required. By the way, you can put update on preview right away, so that you can quickly change the titles of a category. And let's also add a slug, so that it's automatically generated based on the title. And the separator will be a hyphen. Okay. What else do we have? We can also see that we have a sort field. Let's do a number. And let's do it with buttons. Give or take. By default, let's set it to 0. Okay. We also have an additional field category, ID, to specify parent categories, or child categories. Let's make it to make. Let it be parent category, the name of the relationship. And additionally let's specify the resource. Accordingly, the same category. Okay. Let's go back. Let's update. My provider is set to should be strict, so if there's a N1 problem somewhere, it throws an exception right away. And let's fix it. At the same time, let's see how we can use the property to specify the category. Okay, let's go back. Let's refresh. Let's see that everything is working. All categories are parented. We can immediately change the title right here, say, Category 1. If we refresh, the category will change immediately. In the case of such simple resources, this is a must-have feature. Friends, I confess to you, I love working with resources. Many ideas arise at once, and let's implement them right within the framework of this guide. First, let's add a bit of logic. Let's set what can be nullable. That is, the parent category. And let's add a badge to make it look nice. Let's go back. Let's update. And the next thing I want to do is display categories in a tree view. It's handy to move them to their parent categories and sort them at the same time. There's already a package for MoonShine for that. We can go over and look. They're gradually filling it up. Here it is, Sortable tree resource. And let's use it with you. This is how it will look like. And in the case of categories, it's very handy. Okay, let's copy the installation. I haven't installed it yet. Let's transfer it over. Let's wait for the installation. I'll quickly refresh my memory on what it requires. Oh, that's just cool. You and I will need to publish, create a new page. We're going to play around with this at the same time. Since we have a table on our default home page, and we need to convert to a tree component. Let's go back to our IDE. And let's make a MoonShine page. Let's call it the category tree page. Alright. Next, let's go to the resource and tweak it a little. Let's do pages. Let's take the return from the parent. Let's move it to ours. And change the index page to category tree page. Okay. Next, let's open the instructions. Let's see what else we need here. Firstly, the resource itself should inherit not model resource, but tree resource. And additionally, it should have an implementation of two methods we need. Let's make this point. We see that it immediately tells us that this is an abstract class, and it is the methods that are missing. Okay, let's add them and implement them. Tree key, we have category ID. That is the parent field. And sort key is sorting. And let's make sure that sort column is sorting by default as well. In general, we can redo it here and make this sort column. Okay, we have sorted out the resource. Now let's go to the category tree page. Let's remove these points. We've set them at the resource level. And let's work with the component method. Let's see what the instructions suggest. And look, in the instructions we don't change all the components, which in this case suits us better. And we only change the main layer. I think, if you have read the documentation, you have seen that you can work through components and completely change all the components of the page. Or you can work with layers and change something in specific layers. We have the main layer. This is where we display just these buttons and tables. We leave the buttons, but we change the table itself to a component from our package. Let's copy it. Let's change it. The page complains about us, because we have a simple page, and we need an index page. And additionally, let's import the component. Super. That sounds about right. Let's go back. Let's upgrade, and let's see how we did. We see that everything is working. We can add things. We can edit accordingly. And we immediately think that it is not very convenient that adding and editing are on a separate page. Let's fix this point right away. And let's create in model. And, accordingly, edit in model. Let's see what we got out of it. Let's try, for example, to move the 6th to category 1. Refresh. We can see that everything is working. Let's also try to change the sorting. Let's put the category ID at the top. Okay. Let's refresh. And we see that everything works. And we will add, respectively, will be convenient in modals. Let's also check the creation. We may have something not working. Maybe a slug is not being generated. So let's check it. Let's call it category 2. And we'll leave everything else the same. Okay. Save. We see that the slug is generated. Everything is fine with it. Basically, we can delete it. And we are moving to the next section of the article. Let's liven it up. We have already published the resource itself. Here it is, beautiful. Where are we on the articles? Let's take a look. We have title, description, image, slug, published article or not, and, accordingly, author and category. Let's do it. Let's start by specifying the author. Belongs to, make, author. As we call the relation, so it is called. And let's specify that the resource is MoonShine user. Great. There may not be an author. Let's put nullable. In general, though, let's make the author required, and it should always be set. Let's do asynchronous search as well. There can be many authors in the database. So we will take this point into account with you right away. And let's do a disimage method. So that you and I can immediately pull up avatars in the search. And it would be convenient for us to immediately find the author we need. So, we have this avatar. disk public. And MoonShine user, I think, is in the MoonShine users directory. Okay. Let's move on. We need to add title required to the text box. By the way, we made required as an HTML tag at the article level, but we didn't add a check in rules. Let's make this point. Let's play with rules. Not really play with rules, but this will be enough. Okay. Let's go back to articles. Let's add that title is mandatory. Let's go back to articles. What else do we have there? Okay, well, there's a slug. Let's add that. From title. And the separator is exactly the same. Next, TinyMCE for content. Description. Okay. Let's put required. Required. Let's add it here too. We definitely don't need an article without a description. Let's go back. What else do we have? Thumbnail images. Okay. Disk, respectively, let's specify public. Let's have a separate directory called articles. We can add removable, but in general, why do we require articles without a cover? So let's leave it like that. And we'll also have a switcher, whether it's published or not. Is published. We can make it on the index page so that we can edit it and switch it quickly. Let's add the update on preview method. And we will immediately display the belongs to many category. Okay, you can do it in multiple blocks, by the way. Or add tabs. Let's make 2 blocks in this case. Okay. Grid. Column. And, accordingly, we will have the second column with belongs to many. By the way, we can even add some description to the blocks. Main information. In this case, categories. And here we will have belongs to many. Make categories. We don't have to specify the rest, because we will find the category resource automatically. And we have categories in the form of a tree, let's use it here as well. Let's specify tree category ID. Okay. That looks about right. Let's see what we've got here. We have the index page throwing an exception. Lazy load, none problem. Let's do this. And we'll put the author. We can put the categories on the main page. Let's do it right away. Okay. Let's update. We can see that everything is working. This is a huge index page. Nobody has authors set yet, but we can change a little here and remove some things. As you can see, we have categories displayed. In general, it is very cumbersome. Let's fix these things. First things first. TinyMCE will be removed from the main page. Hide. Title and image will be left. You can make them in stack. And at once we will have title and slug here. Let's see how it looks. Let's also put a badge on the author to make him look more sympathetic. Switcher. Okay. And I suggest belongs to many be made in line with a comma. Let's take a look. Back. Already better, but still very cumbersome looking categories. There's no telling how many there will be in the end. Let's just take them and hide them from the main. Okay, that's much better. By the way, another interesting point that came up in 2.0. Let's look at it right away. Namely ClickAction. Let's go to the top, add properties, and talk about what it is. It is assigned to an enum. Thanks to this, we don't have to think too much. That is, we have a row in the table and that will be by clicking on the whole row, we can go straight to the edit, or to the detail page, or select them. Select means this part, that is, we clicked, we will immediately select. Let's go straight to edit. Okay. Let's refresh and see what we got out of this. As you can see, when we hover, we get a gray background like this. And if we click, we go straight to edit. Sometimes this is extremely useful. In our case, we're going to use it as well. What we've done with the switcher update on preview. So it works, and we can update it on the main page and set it to true, well, or false. Let's move on to editing and see what's going on here. You and I have made 2 blocks, and in general, the second block is extremely blank on the right. We can make them on the same line. Let's look at our columns and let's say, the first call span. Let's make it 8 and let's make the second one 4. Okay, let's go back. Let's update. And that's how I like it better already. Friends, let's add one more important button, and let's add it to all entities. Namely, so that we can quickly navigate to the article itself on the site. We now have view, delete, edit. And you and I can still add our own buttons depending on where we are. Say, for the home page, we can use the index buttons method. Correspondingly, for the form buttons and so on. But if we want to add directly to each entity, we can just use buttons. And in this case, this point will do. Let's implement it. Let's return an array. Then the action button is responsible for all the buttons in MoonShine. Let's call it and play with it as well. Let's do a goto. Let's have it like this. And then we have the URL. Let's have a root article index. Further, let's make that we have article data. And let's do a data slug. Okay. Let's go back. Let's update. Let's take a look. We see that we have to go to the article on the index page. There is an immediate transition. We'll have the same thing on the top and on the form. And the same thing we will have on the detailed page. In principle, in my opinion, it looks fine. You can, of course, redo it and, say, use the icon method. Heroic icons. Outline. Let it be I. Let's see how it looks like this. And in this case, we don't need the text. But there's a bit of a catch. We already have an I. And the other one doesn't look very cool. So let's leave it as it is. Just change the button to primary. Okay, let's go back. And that's fine with me overall. By the way, interesting point. It is not particularly applicable here, but you can use a convenient method via action button, so as not to create additional logic, not to make implementation. Just specify with confirm. Next. Update. And when clicking, we will have confirmation first. Are you sure you want to go? And a page transition. Just default to post, because we have a form there with you. But we can do a get method with you. Go back. Update. Confirm. And go to the confirmation page. This is not required as part of the jump link. Here I've just shown you that there is such a possibility. We will definitely play with action buttons. Because they have huge possibilities, you can use the in-model method. And completely customize its content. Make it asynchronous. Pull some extra JS event afterwards. Yes, actually you can hang something on onClick too, and directly in the resource add JS. In general, powerful functionality. We will definitely consider it. For now, let's leave it as it is. Let's edit one of the articles. First, let's specify the author. Let's also see how the withImage method works. Let's look at me. I'm the only one in the system so far. This is what it looks like. See with an avatar. Okay, let's select. Next, let's remove the categories a little bit, since they're all selected. Let's make it just like this. The rest of it's pretty much fine. You can change the avatar. If I have something on the main page, let's have a small cut code logo. After clicking save, we get this article. Now we have an author, categories are set. We have a cover. Let's go to the main page. We see the same thing here. At the same time, we can quickly and conveniently go to the author. Let's go with you to the main page, where we can see our edited article. With a not very nice little stretched logo. Friends, this is the end of the MoonShine tutorial. The next lesson will be even more interesting. So be sure to follow, click the bell, subscribe to the channel, don't forget about likes and comments. This is extremely important for the development of the channel and for the development of MoonShine itself. And I thank you in advance for the likes and comments. And thank you for watching, and thank you for choosing MoonShine and staying with us. Thanks again for watching. And I'll see you in the next video on Cut Code.